Hey students, the purpose of this is to help you guys out and figure out how you can go back to your project 5 and work on the cost of goods sold adjustment and the allowance adjustment. So I'm going to use different numbers, but the concepts are the same. So let's start with the cost of goods sold. Okay, so remember, you've done your cost of goods sold entry for the sale earlier in the month. You're at the end of the month now, and you realize that you've got 10,000 units on hand that you paid $20 for. Let's just pretend that these are Snapchat glasses. So if I look in the T account for inventory, since I have the 10,000 units at $20, I've got a balance of 20,000 in inventory. Well, I realize nobody's going to buy Snapchat glasses. Did I say 10,000 units? I meant 1,000 units. So I realize nobody's going to buy these 1,000 Snapchat glasses. And so I believe I can now sell them for $5. That is my net realizable value, right? The NRV. So if I do the math on that, I multiply the 1,000 units times $5, that says my inventory should not be higher than $5,000. All right, so now I know my inventory account needs to be 5,000. To get there, I will need to credit inventory $15,000. Remember, the whole purpose of this is to bring the inventory down to net realizable value. Remember, if the inventory increases in value, as did toilet paper recently, you can't write it up. It's only if it goes down. Right? So that's our entry that we'll make to adjust for the net realizable value. Remembering cost of goods sold is an expense. All right, so next let me switch to green and let's do our allowance for doubtful accounts example. Okay, so allowance for doubtful accounts, if you remember, your goal is to look at your accounts receivable. So I always draw an accounts receivable T account, and to decide if you have enough of an allowance associated for how much you think you won't get paid back. So let's assume in this example we have $100,000 owed to us, and we have a balance before we make our entry of $4,000. Okay, so the risk group calls us and they say, okay, you've got this 100,000, and of the 100,000, we've noticed that $10,000 worth has not been paid in a long time. So we believe we'll lose half. So I'm going to multiply that by 50%. I get $5,000. The rest, which is $90,000, right? Because I've still got to look at the whole 100,000. That we believe will only lose 2%. So that's $1,800. So that means my total allowance, the 5,000 plus the 1,800, should be, let's see if I can do this, 6,800. All right, so remember, now we've got this step to say, okay, that's what the balance needs to be, but it's not my journal entry unless I have a starting balance of 0, which I don't here. So I need to make an adjustment for 2,800. So after I've done all this work, my debit is to bad debt expense, 2,800, and the credit is to allowance for doubtful accounts, 2,800. All right, hope that helps you guys as you go back and rework these problems.